What's up, everyone? Nightmare here. Today, I thought it would be fun to do a video on my journey thus far in locksport and kind of talk about where I came from and where I'm at now in my quest for black belt. Um, so, yesterday, I received my black belt, super excited, and that got me thinking it'd be fun to kind of show exactly my path to how I got where I'm at now. So that leads me to what is currently in front of me, which was the Covert Instruments Genesis set. Back in, I don't know, 2022, 2023, I was watching a bunch of YouTube and saw the lockpicking lawyer and thought that lockpicking was like the coolest thing ever and that I wanted to get into it. And I bought this set right here. And when it showed up, my dad gave me this lock out of his little tool chest that he had just sitting out in the garage, not being used. And I remember the first time, that I put the tensioner in, grabbed the rake, and, you know, opened it up. And man, I was hooked. I couldn't believe that that was possible. Um, Probably the coolest thing ever. And so I went down to the hardware store, got me two more locks, a Master 140 and another Master number 3, and they just raked open just as easy. It was crazy, and from here on out, oops, trying to look through the camera. And from here on out, I was just hooked on Locksport. Started going to the subreddit, lurking there, didn't post anything. And, then I saw everybody does single pin picking. And I was like, okay, that would be cool. And saw the belt system, thought it would be fun to do that and kind of move up. So my first real lock that I got, I say real lock, the first lock I tried to single pin pick was an American 1100. And, at this point, we were watching more and more videos, more and more reviews. We saw the tool request or recommended tools for everyone to start out with on the subreddit. And we upgraded from these to some Peterson picks. I think at the time on the subreddit they were recommending these, specifically these two, the Hook One and the Gem. And I remember the first time that I ever opened one of these American 1100s, it was with top of the keyway tension, like this. I used to pick in hand at work when I was just sitting there doing nothing. And yeah, the first time I ever got one of these was, with this gem hook. And from then on out, I was hooked. I could not believe. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to get this now, but I couldn't believe that I was able to open this single pin picking. I promise I'm not gonna pick through all the locks in this story. But I single pin picked this, couldn't believe it. And now I was like, I'm serious about this. I'm going to get, a blue belt lock and go from there. And little did I know that this lock, it's a Yale 500 that I got on Amazon, would make me quit Locksport. Man, I tried everything for this. I tried medium hook. I tried the SS Devs from Sparrows, and I just couldn't get it. And this is a blue belt lock, and I had no idea what progressive pinning was at the time. So I ended up getting out of Locksport It was just one of those hobbies that I got into and got out just as fast. Um, I just bounced around to different hobbies, and I still do. But yeah, this lot kicked my butt, and uh, I think at the time I wasn't even able to disassemble this because I didn't have the tools, and some of these people split in half, and but yeah, so I left this one like this. Uh, kind of stepped away from Locksport, and the most I had gutted was these 1100s, and it was kind of funny. So we ordered all of our Sparrow stuff. We were trying out different things. I tried like the Monkey Paw, their Triple Peak, which was recommended. I think it was the Triple Peak that was recommended at the time for a good rake, along with like some of the Peterson stuff. And we were using this exact Sparrow sticker here, rolled up. It's flattened now, but we rolled this up like this. And when we disassembled these guys for the first time, this was what we were using as a core follower. And these, the Uncle Bill's sliver grippers, are what we were using as pinning tweezers to pull all the pins out. And yeah, not the most ideal setup, but that's what we were doing. And we tried to get better at lock picking, to be able to pick this. So we would take these. I had a red one and a blue one, and just color, not like belt rarity. But one of them came with all spools, and the other one came with all serrated. So I'd mix them around and try to get better at lock picking just through having these two locks. And we ended up, like I said, we never were able to get this open. Quit Locksport, and we just kind of had these sitting in a pouch somewhere. Well, fast forward to a couple months ago, I had a buddy who got into Locksport, and he was saying that he really wanted to work his way through the LPU belts and just kind of work his way up. It was a hobby that he wanted to get into, and he was telling me this, and I was like, oh man, I did have so much fun when I was doing Locksport, but it's kind of not that fun for me when I'm just doing it by myself. I don't know anyone that does it, and like I said, I wasn't active in the online stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'll get back into it with you. I was like, this is kind of what I was picking at the time, and so I got out my tools, uh, pulled out the American 1100s out the box, and man, it kicked my butt for like a day. And then I was like, all right, I think we know how to single pin pick again, at least these. And we did that. And then I think at the time on the subreddit, r/slash lockpicking, I was seeing a ton of uh, Packlock 90A, 200K club patches. It seemed like every day somebody was posting a new, letter that they got from Packlock for completing the 200K challenge. And I saw that it was also blue belt. And that was the first time that I thought, you know what? Maybe we ditch this and just try a different lock. And so that's what I did. I got myself Packlock 98 Pro. And man, I realized the jump from green to blue real quick. And we were picking this still in hand. And man, it was just killing my hand, like these squared corners. And we ended up, after a day and a half, I was sitting down at the breakfast table or kitchen table at breakfast time, and for some reason I'd pulled out this uh, monkey paw from Sparrows, and just because it felt like I could really feel where the pins were, and I ended up getting it open with this for the very first time, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, we're back, baby. It's it's time to keep progressing, and I think we did it with what was it, like a top of the keyway tensioner like this, but just picking in hand still. And I remember I was so excited that this I was kind of ordering more and more supplies at the time. So my kit has kind of evolved since this, and we'll show an iteration of what our current favorite picks and tensioners are in a bit. But yeah, we got this open, and I was like, all right, well now I have to do it on video, And I remember we were driving somewhere that day, and so I brought this in the car with me, and I picked it open again, and I was like, all right, this is clicking, no pun intended. Um, so then I sat down. I had ordered a vise, but it wasn't here yet. So for the 200K patch, I just picked it in hand, set up my camera at the worst camera angle, picked it, gutted it, and I think reassembled it. And we turned that in for the 200K patch and our blue belt. And that was kind of like our foray back into locksport. And my buddy was doing it at the same time too. He picked his like a week after I got mine open. And so then I was like, all right, well, what's next? Let's keep going. So then we found the Lock Bazaar. I think before that we were looking on like eBay, but we just couldn't really find anything. Well, anything that we could pick. And so I went on the Lock Bazaar and met someone who was, had exactly what I was looking for. Well, I think I just reached out in general for purple belt locks, but they had 3 different purple belt locks, and one of them was this, the ASA Max Plus Restricted, and I didn't know it at the time, but this lock would kind of dictate our path forward and what we really enjoyed picking. This is just 6 barrels, purple belt lock with the matched counter milling. Just need a key. A lot of really high cuts, so you really had to work the barrels all the way up. But this kind of laid the groundwork for our skills, kind of coming along at the time. And this was the first lock that we ever progressive pinned either. I'd never even heard of that until I was reading on the subreddit, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. You can literally just take pins out of the lock and make it easier to learn how to set pins, what it feels like, and just kind of work your way up. And this one came in a more T cylinder, so we could just slide this off. Super easy to progressive pin, and super fun to pick once we finally got it. That was the biggest, like aha moment that we had, and the most rush that we had felt after an open. So we got this, and then we got onto this, which was a Medico original, just a kick body and this Avis 83 padlock. And man, we tried this for like a week and could not get it. I couldn't even get like one pin to rotate. I could pick it without the sidebar, with just like all the mushrooms that were in here. But trying to rotate the pins, I just couldn't do it. And so that was a little discouraging. But then we were looking at some of the higher belt locks, and we saw that this one kind of leads into the 6K with barrels or the twin exclusive. And we saw this lock, the Ruko 500, which was another purple belt, and this one had gins in it. It was 4 gins and then 1 standard. I can't remember if it's tapered or not. In position 5, just a 5-pin lock. And this one was super fun to pick. I got it pretty quickly, but the idea of the float picking was really fun to us. And we saw that we could do the 6K with gins and the 6K, with barrels, and there were 2 different entries, 2 unique entries on the belts page. And I was like, man, what if we, picked these and then kind of worked our way up the Asa Ruko tree. So we set this to the side, and that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned in lockpicking is, if it's not fun, don't do it, because you'll get stuck on something like this, and it'll pull you out of the sport, and you'll just never go back. So you kind of have to have progress to have fun, in my experience. If you have the same thing kicking your butt over and over and over again, you'll eventually just get discouraged. But there are a lot of tips out there to help people out who are struggling on locks. But taking a break and also just switching to a different lock could be the difference between you quitting or you working up to the higher belts. So we did these, super fun, and then I think like I said, I was already looking at higher belt locks, and that is what led us to get this guy, which was the Acid Twin exclusive. So it was the first black belt lock that I bought. I found it on eBay from Adam. He's a big seller of these. And this was just kind of like a side project that we were working on as we began to move into the upper belts and look for brown and red locks. And I worked on this on the side for like a month and then finally got it open. Really had fun with this. It was a very challenging lock. I still think it's one of the, if not the toughest lock that I've picked to date out of the collection that I have. And it's not a big collection, but this was definitely a tough one. And while we were doing this, I got a Gold P. This was kind of an older style. It didn't have all torpedoes in it. Had some standard pins, but I picked this in like 5 minutes after getting it out the box. And that's what kind of turned me off of getting more brown belt locks. And I posted in the Facebook group that I'd opened this twin exclusive. And I think at that point we had got another black belt lock open. I want to say the twin 6K with gins. And I think it was Lady Locks that said, you know, if you're picking these, because I was asking for brown and red recommendations, she's like, black is basically the same as red. So just pick black. And that's what I did. So, you know, next up was the Goal V18. Or sorry, that's the Goal Z. And we picked that one. And then we went to the Goal V18 because we ran out of money for more expensive locks. I wanted to do a twin V10, which is a separate entry than both of these, even though it's very similar, but the sidebar is different. And we had one dimple pick, which was this lock noob flat flag that we were using to set the side pins in these. And I thought, you know, what if I could get something like this open with this and not have to invest any more money in tools? And sure enough, we were able to do it. We made a bottom of the keyway tensioner for this as well, which was super cool. And yeah, then we had our 4 locks open, and I was still buying more black belts at the time, but I thought it'd be fun to do a project, which brings me into my T2 black belt project, which you've probably seen if you've been following along with what I've been doing, which was these guys, little golf clubs. And the whole reason why I started these was for this tensioner right here, or the Goal V18. I needed something that would fit in the bottom of the keyway tension that wasn't two tensioners stacked together, because it was just annoying more than anything. But then this all together made up our black belt submission. And originally, these golf clubs were not as nice. The videos that we had of our initial pickings of these locks had the sloppiest gutting. We didn't show off all the security features, and we ended up redoing every single one of them. So when I submitted for black belt the first time, I got some great feedback. All of it was super useful, and all of it was true. You know, where they were like, you know, this one had mismatched stacks, and the gutting was bad. And I think this was the only one that they said the gutting was okay, but I didn't want to, you know, submit with okay. I wanted it to be good, and I wanted it to look like I tried. And so I went and redid all of these videos. And, you know, some of these locks, I'm like, dude, I barely opened this one the first time. It took me like, what was it, 30 some minutes to pick, and we finally got it open. And I thought it was a miracle. I thought I'd never get this lock open again. But since then, I've got this lock open a couple times. And if you can get it open once, you can get it open again. So I guess if you're doing the belt system, don't be discouraged if you have to repick a lock that you think you barely got, because I guarantee you can do it again. So then with all this feedback we redid our videos, we refinished these, made a little golf case, um, put some handles and hostels on these, made some T-pins, and that brought this into a T2 project. And another thing that most people don't know is if you do a black belt T2 project and you make a jump like I did from purple to black, then you don't have to do a T1 brown project. This counts as both. Just the same as, if you jump in from purple to black, you don't have to pick brown belt locks and red belt locks. You can just pick the black belt locks. Another cool thing you can do is pick a higher belt lock for a lower belt belt submission. So, I could pick this for white belt, and then if the gutting video is good, I can reuse that for, yellow belt, then orange belt, green belt, blue belt, brown belt. I mean, I'd obviously have to pick two locks starting at purple, but yeah, you can reuse videos and submit a higher tier for a lower. So that's really cool if you're looking to level up and you can, you're struggling with other locks at that belt level, but you can pick a higher belt lock. Yeah, it also saves you some money too. I mean, I don't recommend jumping all the belts, but if you're a good picker, you really just want to pursue the belts, and you don't have a ton of money, then yeah, get some higher belt locks, more difficult, and reuse it. So yeah, we can go over kind of the tools I used to get here. See if I can bring these into view. Put this behind it. So this is my current toolkit. These are the picks that I really enjoyed. I pretty much always reach for a Jimmy Long's jib hook. I have the medium and the deep in 15 thousandths, and then I have the medium and the deep in 19 thousandths. I got some 23 thousandths, standard short flat, medium flat, deep round that I use, and like 23 thousandths, 23 thousandths short flat jim hook, various tensioners. Here's a probe that I made out of an old Peterson pick, our one dimple flag. These flush tensioners were our most used tensioners throughout the entire belt process. A lot of the recessed keyways you'll see on lower security. I say lower security, like if you broke the belts down at the halfway point, like purple, then like purple and up, you'll typically see more things that are not recessed. You have these like flush faces. So get you a set of these if you want easier time picking than with a typical Z turner that's meant for uh, a recessed keyway. And you can like push it in more, but you'll be touching that first pin, and you don't want to bind up anything. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Use this pick for the Gold Z, 15 thousandths deep and medium jim hooks for the ASAs, and then obviously our one dimple flag and a like medium hook for the Gold V18. But yeah, that was super fun, and that's kind of how we got to where we're at. My journey from starting at blue to purple and then jumping to black. So if you're curious, or if that's something that you want to do, it's definitely doable. And then I thought it would be really fun to talk about what we're doing with the channel from here on out. So I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to be picking tough locks. As a matter of fact, we have way too many locks that are sitting and are waited to be picked. Here's a Miwa U9 that we threw in a cutout that we're going to start learning. We've got some challenge locks that haven't gotten any time in the vise yet. We've got another lock that Stormcrow was nice enough to lend us, someone that I met at my local meetup, local locksport meetup around me. And this one will be super fun. It's already kicking my butt. It's had about an hour in the vise. And so, yeah, we will continue to make content. We'll continue to be around. We'll continue to support everyone. And yeah, this is just the start. But I thought it'd be fun to share my journey from, essentially white to black belt. And for anyone that was curious and that chases the belts, like I did, yeah, keep on. If it's something you enjoy, go for it. If you don't, you just like picking locks, nothing wrong with that either. I feel like kind of relieved that I can just go back and just have fun with some of the new things that can throw in my vise. And yeah, we'll be here. And thank you for supporting the channel and watching my videos. I appreciate all of you. And I really enjoy all the content that comes from everyone that I follow. So yeah, we'll be around. Thanks for watching. And thanks to everyone that reached out and congratulated me. So that's it for us. We will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.